Hey, Sunday. Another blessed Sunday. First day of September, Labor Day weekend. Welcome to the Shaker Heights experiences where experiences may vary. So, coming to the stage, we have a steel executive by night, a comedy producer by day, one of Lomont's finest. I'd like to bring to the stage. He's coming to us from the Avalon Rapid Stop in our minds. I'd like to bring to the stage Mr. David Embry.
What up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, man?
Class of 1984.
Yeah.
Lomond and Normandy.
84.
That's right. Good to see you guys, man.
Yeah, man. Not since the big old party last month, which seems like 1,000 years ago.
Time flies now that we are getting close to that big 6-0.
Yes.
It seems like these years go by so quick. Before you know it, it's June. Before you know it, it's September. It's Christmas. We're starting all over again.
I keep holding on, like that song by who sang that song? I keep holding on. Yeah, Simply Red. Yeah, holding back the years. Yeah, yes, as we run toward the light.
Man,
don't be afraid.
You gotta keep that light at a distance. I'm trying to keep that light at a distance right now.
Hey, man, the light is everlasting.
Hey,
don't let the light. Don't fear the light.
Don't let your black crack. That's all I have to say.
So, thank you for joining us, man, today.
Man, glad to be a part of it. Glad to be a part of the show.
So, tell us, man? Tell us how you wound up in the Shaker community. How'd you get
Shaker Heights, man. So, I'm one of those guys that actually went through the Shaker school system from kindergarten all the way to, graduating from the high school in 12th grade. So, if I get the timeline exactly right, but my mother, we moved into Shaker, had to be 71, I had to be 5 years old. Okay. And, started at, kindergarten at Lomond. And like I said, went all the way through, through high school. I was actually born on 177th in between Glendale and Harvard.
Okay.
But it is really an extension of Ingleside. Yeah. Ingleside turns into 177th after once you leave Shaker going into Cleveland. Before they put the barricades up.
And that's why my address was 17717 Lomond. So yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it was. That's where I grew up. So yeah.
That's a good numerology number. 17717. You should play that on the five lotto thing. Just random.
Well, last week I saw it on the side of a Home Depot truck. You know how they number the truck?
Yeah.
I took a picture of it, and I framed it where it just said home, and it said 17717. I didn't include the depot part. Yeah,
you should make that a poster or something. That would be cool.
I might.
So,
I might have to.
So the barriers, Shaker apartheid, as it was once known. Yeah. So did you ever play around the barriers?
I mean, I did. I mean, I rode my bike from, my grandparents stayed right there on the side. So I rode my bike, as a child all the time, straight up Ingleside 107, get home, get to see my grandparents and, back and forth. So that's my mother, we moved there, I believe it's 1971, if I'm not exact. So that's where I started, elementary school. I still remember Clifton Ellis was in my kindergarten class. And I say, I've known him the longest.
Oh, wow.
That's very far as a lifetime, because we were together in the kindergarten class. So I've been knowing him since kindergarten. And of course, as we grew, through everybody else, Tracy King, Elton Jackson, Mears, Hopkins, everybody, some people still, Tammy Cologne, Carrie Joe Koleski. You just, Marion Buzz. The names just go on and on.
Right.
You guys know who we came out in '84 with, so that Lee Gleason, just growing up with all of them, all through elementary. I saw the episodes you guys were talking about the flag football and Little League. Yeah, I was just participating in all that. I played flag football, Little League.
Did you go to Lomond Day Camp? Did you go to day camp during the summer?
I don't think so. Not that I remember. I don't remember going to day camp.
Okay.
And probably because I went to my grandparents during the day in the summer.
Okay.
There was no reason for me to go to camp. It was right down the street. So I definitely don't remember going to day camp. You went to the day camp?
Well, I was wondering if you came home with the same not volleyball, but dodgeball wounds that everybody else did. Do you still have kickball patterns on your back and on your head and all over you,
But yeah, of course, we all played dodgeball. Strike out, kill the man with the ball.
Yeah, kill the man.
Played in nothing but fun.
Did you hang out at Lomond with the Shaker? You remember the Shaker Rec man, Mr. Thompson?
Yeah.
Black dude with the windbreaker, and he'd roll out all the balls and stuff like that.
Yep. I remember that.
That was cool.
I remember that. You waking up my brain cells with that, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's wake up time, man.
It's been a long time since I even thought about those days.
And playing kickball and having to figure out, people would climb up the top of the school and grab the kickballs off the top of remember that railing around where that grid was, and you had to climb up to get the kickballs off the roof.
Right.
That's all we ever did was play kickball.
Yep.
Yeah. So here you are, Lomond. You already, those are some fond memories right there, just of fun and play. You went to Byron, right?
Yep, went to Byron.
Wait a minute, real quick. Yeah. I thought Quentin Rubin was your best friend. I used to think you hung out with Quentin at Lomond all the time.
He did. He was, because his mother and my mother were real good friends. So we were, family get together things. We were always around each other, and Quentin, playing guitar from the time that I know him. He was playing George Benson. When I first met him, at that young age, he was a beast then. And I was playing the drums at the time. I was, getting my taste of playing the drums, and Glenn Byers, Butch, he was playing bass.
Wow.
So, yeah, I actually have a picture. I tried to send it to you. I don't know if you got it or not.
I looked in my email. I didn't see anything.
I tried to send you a picture. And we used to play. We used to sit there try to play the game. Just trying to play covers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what age was this? I never heard of this band. And what did you call yourself? And why did you break up?
I don't even think we got that far of giving ourselves the name. But it had to be fifth or sixth grade. If I had that picture, but I can't. We were probably about fifth or sixth grade.
Do you have any cassette recordings anywhere in anybody's drawer, anywhere, somewhere?
I don't think cassettes were even around. It had to be reel to reel.
Oh no, they were around because
when we were in elementary school.
Yeah, they had the mini thing because my sister used to tape all the greatest hits or the weekly, whatever off of JMO back then. And then I would take her cassettes when I didn't have any and just record what I needed to record over, and that didn't go over too well. So, no. You'd hold up the portable right next to the radio when it came on, and then try to edit it so you get the talking out. Yeah,
I guess I did. I remember doing a lot of that in Byron, trying to catch who's the DJ on Friday? Cochise.
Yeah.
Trying to catch Cochise's mixes.
WDMT.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always been a huge music fan. I actually tried to. I mean, I took my hand at trying to DJ also too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I learned actually Mike Chapman. You know, is who
Uh,
I really was learning from at that time. Another low monder.
So
You
Yeah.
were
know,
you in the basement with the paneling and everything? That was the clubhouse, boy.
yeah, yeah,
Wiffle ball in the backyard and DJing inside, and it was
yep,
crazy.
yep.
That's cool, man. That's
Did,
a great cinematic
so
scene.
so let me ask you some other things. So musically, what were you Shakers about music and the arts? So what were you listening to back in junior high, and what was your I
But
remember some
even
songs. Let's see.
listening to music, even um, as growing up, you know, of course, y'all, my mother was always, she was a big Parliament fan. So
Mhm.
Bootsy Collins, a lot of, um, Parliament, George Clinton. That's what my mother was listening to, back then. Um, Either I got into, Byron, we hip hop started kind of like when we were in junior high school and like elementary. So big hip hop fan, especially also, trying to DJ also, so big hip hop fan.
First
But
hip hop song you heard that blew you away?
that completely blew me away
Yeah.
will probably be later on with LL Cool J's "Rock the Bells." Now
Okay.
the original uncut version, not the
Yes.
radio version.
Right.
Just with he just
Timbales.
continuously goes over that beat nonstop. I think that song's almost like 8-10 minutes long, and he just kills it. And that song doesn't get it's just due. That right when I heard that, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
he's a beast. But that probably let me know like hip hop. But then as you go on, man, I have so many favorite artists, from either KRS One, of course, Rapper's Delight. Everybody knew all the words of that. I remember in 8th grade, I sat there and I wrote the whole song on the desk. So, I wrote the whole song, wrote Rapper's Delight, the whole song on the desk.
Wow.
Everybody knew that song. That
Yeah.
was everybody's first like Sesame Street rap song.
You
Yeah.
Everybody.
know what was a Cleveland particular? Because I only knew this from reading the comments on YouTube. Was Rapper
Mm.
Dapper Snapper?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was like a
Yeah.
real Cleveland thing
Yeah.
song. You know? Yeah.
And Scorpio. There was a
Yeah.
song called Scorpio.
Yes. Scorpio.
Now, David, you're talking about
I
hip
love
hop,
it.
but I remember with you and the curl and the way you dressed, you seemed more of a Morris Day type of person to me.
At the time. Back that did have the curl. I was a huge Prince fan and Morris Day and the time. You
Mhm.
know,
Okay.
um, that music during that time, during that era was, it was iconic, and I was probably more of a Prince, Morris Day and Time fan than I was even of Michael Jackson. Though Michael stuff was great, but I was always, a big Prince and the Time fan.
Yeah.
From the
Oak
streets
Tree.
on down.
Oak Tree.
Yeah,
Merry-Go-Round. Round Park Mall.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, doing the oak tree at the oak tree.
Hey, I forgot about that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Greatest
Oh,
drum. Greatest drum. Program drum in history. 93 77 93 11. Lynn Drum.
77793.
311. Yep,
Yeah, that drum. Prince
yep.
didn't actually program it. That was a pre-programmed beat that one of the engineers had put in there. Prince had discovered it and obviously put his genius to it, but he did not create that beat.
All
True
So
story.
right.
here,
True story. It's true
so
story.
I'm thinking about David Embry stylings. I remember I recalled something today. This will jar your memory. So we already talked about the Rams jersey, the white Rams jersey, Los Angeles Rams
Mm,
percussion jersey that you wore. That was your staple. But do you remember when the turf shoes, those NFL football turf shoes came in, that they'd wear in the turf on an AstroTurf? You were
yep.
one of the first ones with those shoes. You remember?
wow.
Man.
I knew I would jar your memory.
You remember that?
Yeah, that was you. You were the first one.
It was. I love those shoes.
Yeah.
I love those. I remember. Wow, man, you kind of
Oh
remember
yeah.
you.
I need to. I need to write
What kind of
a
supplements are you taking? How you
Man,
even remember that?
I was lurking in the corners, man. Nobody talked to me. I was taking notes, mental notes, and I
Man,
remember.
I'm surprised you even remember that. Wow.
I got some flash too when had the first Nike Cortez leathers at
Really?
Byron. They were white.
Okay.
You remember those? They're
Yeah.
funny looking with the red, and then they had the sandwich, kind of weird, serrated. Anyway, I was the first one to have those. What was cool back then? What was besides you, Morris Day and early starter jersey?
British Knights, and Reebok.
It's
Who was
nice.
wearing what? People were wearing the shell-toed Adidas. I remember.
That
Everybody was wearing those.
now there, I think Converse probably may have been a little more. I wore a lot of Pumas. Boy, my cleats were Pumas. I remember my football cleats were Pumas.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Nikes and stuff like that. That was back then. But I think more or less the Converse, I think were a little more popular.
Well, where were you
That
hanging
Chuck
out?
Taylor.
Where were you buying your clothes? Were you hanging out at Randall, or where were the hangout spots?
And I didn't even have a choice back then. Whatever the hell my mother and them bought me. If it was tough skins and we was ironing on the patches, that's what it was.
Well, how about high school though? Because that's when
High school.
That's when people started talking about you.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had a couple of suits. I don't know if it was from Oak Tree or not, but I had a couple of suits that I would wear. I didn't wear suits to school, but outside, if I was going out somewhere, a party, maybe so. But I never been a Scott Griffin. That's all for Scott and like Andrew Clark and all them guys that I couldn't dress like. Not within that category.
Well,
I'm so glad I can wear my Tiger Woods stuff now and just put my polos on and chill. I ain't no way I can keep up with Scott and Drew and all that stuff. How they dress, but
gargantuan closets, man. Clothes.
Yeah. I've always been just the average guy when it came to that kind of stuff, man. I was never, like I had a couple of suits. I could put a couple of things together that was real nice. If I had to go out if it's time for, prom after, homecoming or something like that, I'll put something together for that. But I was like, my everyday, and it really wasn't even that big of a deal to me.
So, like, you went through Byron. You played sports, obviously, right? You played football. Did you play basketball?
Played football. I didn't play basketball. But I played football all the way up until the 11th grade.
Okay.
I played football up until 11th grade.
So what was the adjustment like, coming from Byron, going to Shaker and, the merging of Woodbury and Byron? Did you have any static with anybody or, did you click with folks from, who came over from Woodbury?
Yeah, I mean, I never had any problems with anybody, So in ninth grade, I met Arthur Oakley, but it was through church. My mother was a member of it was Shaker Heights Community Church, I believe, right there on Lomond and Lido.
Okay.
And Art lived on Shelton. So I started meeting those guys, back then, that stayed on Hill Day and Shelton. Because I was always over there hanging out with Art. So when it came time for that merger, when we all got together, I never had any problems. And then, when we playing football, we were on the same team. So most of my friends, came from the racial we're playing football together, So it was never, I never had any problem, like any type of friction or like, somebody saying because I was from Byron or some shit like, I never had those kind of problems.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't looking for it either. And I think everybody pretty much knew I wasn't looking. If anything, I'm trying to laugh and have a good time. Still just being, Eric knows him, class clown. That was my biggest problem in school period anyway. Just, being a class clown, making everybody laugh, trying to make everybody laugh.
Oh my God! We got to let's talk. Was that Byron or was that Shaker when we were in Dr. Fox's class?
Man, don't ask me to remember that. You
But,
just,
but you remember being in class with me, right? When
oh
we're
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, no
with
doubt.
me, you, John Miller,
Yeah,
uh, who else?
yep,
James Pace. You remember we go? You remember you used to say that with the
yep,
with the wheezing cough.
yep. Man,
Hmm.
You're holding back, man. I'm gonna have to bust on you pretty soon because you.
well, we got to realize too, man. These are things that I haven't thought about in a long time. But it's good. It's good to think about those things, and you think about what you were doing back then, and you look at where you're at now, and you're like, okay, this is why I act like this. This is why I have this warped sense of humor that 30% of the population doesn't even get. It's it's great to look back at these things. And
So here's the origin of this. I have to describe to you. There was a class for people that didn't want to participate, take a language, and it was
mhm,
a language skills class.
right,
And we would, I don't even know what it was for, but Dr. Fox, I don't know if both of them were, but she would laugh and laugh at us, and every day one of us would get sent to the office. No, that was Byron because Mr. Green was our was the counselor,
right. I
and
do remember
I
that.
would
Yeah.
I would get sent out, and everyone would get sent out, and she would be cracking up, but she would just apologize. She says it's funny, but it's too disruptive, and we would have to read these stories, and I would
Mhm.
read them in Mrs. Piggy voices or the Muppet voices, and we'd be cracking up. And this one time, I want to get all of us on the show. Morier was in there.
Yeah.
Uh, um, oh, what's his name? Moore, the white kid. Uh, Damn, I can't remember his name. Anyway, I remember everyone left. She left the room, and she
Hmm.
came back, and all of us took our shirts off, or at least John did. I remember, and
Miller. That sounds like Miller.
we were holding the books, and she came back, and we're just acting like nothing happened. Oh man, that was funny. That was the only place I came out of my shell because I was quiet as hell. But people
Right.
would ask like, "Hey, who's one of the funniest people you know?" And people would bring up my name, Richie Moore, and they're like, "Who's Eric Green?" But in that class, it was just like open mic and just craziness. And I want to bring all of us together when we're at the reunion. John
Mhm.
Miller said that he'd come on the show, so I'm trying to find at least three of us to talk about those days. So
Oh yeah.
that would be in our upcoming clicks and crews. Okay, so
Clicks and brews. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So I might have to refresh you a little bit, and before we go on, but those
Yeah,
are some.
you most definitely will have to do that.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Um, can you clarify something? So Scott Griffin called me before we went live in the studio, and
Hmm.
he said something about you cheated at kickball, and you brought
Cheated.
some ring. Yeah, you brought some ringers to play against him,
Some ringers.
and
So I brought some skilled players, and that was cheating. Huh.
according to him, but he
Huh.
said his
Probably
team
because you
still won.
lost. Well, man, Scott, love him for this, put together these kickball games, past couple of years. And, it'd be Moreland, we live in our childhood, the Moreland versus Lomond.
Hmm.
So it was difficult to find enough players from Lomond to, come together. Moreland, then Scott is, social media mad. He's all over social media contacting everybody from Moreland and Ludlow and everybody else. Of course, he's not contacting anybody from Lomond. But he contact. So every time the games happen, more than showing up. Then they show up 9, 10, 15 deep. We may have 5, from Lomond there. So I was like, all right. So this is Lomond versus Moreland. So my girlfriend at the time, we lived on Winslow, and her kids all went to Lomond.
Mm.
So they all were Lomond alumni. Although they may have graduated in, 2016, 2017 from Lomond, but they were all, Lomond alumni. So
bona fide. Yeah, they were bona
so
fide.
those are rules. It had to be. You had to be a Lomond alumni.
Right.
So
okay.
they came to the game and we played some kickball. Now they were teenagers, and of course, Scott. But of course, there were no rules. Well, no rules were broken because they played. They were from Lomond. But Scott, of course, since I found a loophole in his in his rule book, he seems you want to take that as cheating. Nah, don't cheat, man. Don't cheat and don't steal. So
yeah,
that's a good one. Man, that was a lot of fun though. And it made it so bad the kids were talking so much trash. The youngest one, Chance, he was talking so much trash. He's a basketball player. He's a trash talker. And that was so funny because he was getting under Scott's skin. He was trapping Scott. These kids, they talking their lingo and just that was beautiful. Should have been recording that. That's why I should have recorded.
Yeah.
Talking cash shit.
Shout out to Scott. His episode is still the highest viewed episode of our podcast first season.
I believe it.
At
the
787 views.
Yeah, I mean, the man's done a lot in his lifetime, and he has seen a lot in his lifetime. He's accomplished a lot in his lifetime. To be able to use that, I tell anybody that can use that God-given talent to, live your dream and make money is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's always a beautiful thing for any of us to be able to use our talents and our skills to, take care of ourselves and take care of our families. It's a beautiful thing, and he was able to do that.
Well, speaking of that, like when you, after high school, which how do you
where'd you go to college?
Well, wait a minute. How did you describe your high school? I mean, was it an enjoyable experience? Were you sad to leave? Was it a lot of fun? How were you how did you view your high school experience?
I was pretty much ready for it to be over. Like I said, the one thing that I didn't do was play football my senior year, and that's because there was a lot of family things going on. Mother was going through a divorce, so I actually had to move back into Cleveland to my grandparents' house at that time. That 11th grade, going to 12th grade type year. So there was a lot going on, And back then, you think about now, you think about mental health and what you do to get those type of things. It was just like I'm just ready to get on with to the next chapter in my life.
You know what jarred a memory? I helped you move. Me, Mark Nance, and Danny Tepper were loading up the U-Haul. I couldn't remember, but that was when we helped. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So those times, I was pretty much ready to move on. I was ready to go to college. We had decided to go to Central State. Me, Burgess, Cliff, Eric Patton, rest in peace. We all kind of went down, Eric Douglas, we all kind of went down to Central State together. So that was right out of high school. That only lasted a year.
Did Ken Johnson go with you too? I thought he was.
No, I think Ken went to Central.
Okay.
I think so.
Central's in what? Wilberforce, right?
Yeah, Wilberforce, down there in between Dayton and Columbus. It's not too far. I think it's about 45 minutes from Dayton, I believe.
Did you know what you wanted to do at that time? You were at.
Yeah, computers. I was kind of getting into computers at the time.
Okay.
And so that was when, of course, back then that was what, mid 80s. You know what the technology was, and Shaker had I remember right before we started, Shaker had just got the little computer lab. I think maybe when
I remember that. Yeah.
So I was in there a lot. So I was going to computer, but my discipline wasn't ready for college yet. The fact that I can now drink and party and unsupervised and stay out
Right.
all night and do what the hell I want to do. It took me to the third semester to like, okay, you got to take this serious now. You got to start doing some work.
Right.
Or they're not gonna let you come back, and they didn't let me come back. So after that, went into the Air Force.
Aim high. Yes.
Yeah, me and Burgess was sitting watching. I saw Derek's interview, but we were sitting watching Top Gun. That's when we decided, we should. I said we're not going into the Navy because I ain't falling off no boat. So
Yeah.
we should let's go into the Air Force. So
Yeah, you don't like those bell bottoms either. I don't think you'd look good in those bell bottoms.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you in the ship, close quarters, with men. All. Could you imagine if she was in a submarine like that?
6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into the one branch where the officers go out and fight, and the enlisted stay back and just fix the planes if they break. So,
Yeah.
even if we go to war, we really ain't gonna be in war, which was pretty much true.
Yeah, unless you're a PJ.
Yeah. Parachute on. So I'm gonna fix the planes.
Yeah.
So if they break, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like for you? Did you enjoy it? What was it how was it when you first got in? When did you start to mature actually?
Pretty much right away. I mean, of course, the military, they pound into your head discipline. You got to follow orders. You got to do it this way. It teaches you to do that. With everything from making up your bed to how you eat to how you wear your clothes, how you can cut your hair, how you can shave. It teaches you a lot of discipline as far as that's concerned. But also going in at an older age helped me prepare for that too. So I was probably like 21.
That's young, man.
21 we went in. So it wasn't like straight out of high school. Yeah. So we were a little bit older than, just some of the people there then. So a little bit more mature. The mind games didn't play with me as much, with the yelling and, trying to break your spirit, it's mind games. So like, I know, it wasn't like Full Metal Jacket where, they were beating the shit out of you if you couldn't.
Of course, because it's in the Air Force. It's country club.
You only had to run a mile and a half for PT. That was it.
Oh.
I think they gave us damn near 10 minutes to do that. So, it wasn't. It was all up here, I guess, is where they wanted it. But it wasn't bad. Tracy King was in there. I had the same experience that Derek had. Tracy helped me through basic training because she was stationed at Lackland. I was stationed at Eglin Air Force Base in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is right there on the Panhandle.
Yeah.
So, first being then Fort Walton, that's a vacation resort basically. So that experience too was great too because I was about 2 hours from Tallahassee, where FAMU was located. So
Rattlers.
Another HBCU, I was able to go down there and party. So my experience, with Air Force was really great because I actually love working on planes. I worked on F-15s.
Wow! Did you go to the air show this week? Did you go to the air show?
No.
Did you go to the air show?
I didn't go this year. And usually I go, but it's like I know those routines by the back of my hand. Because the Air Force has the Thunderbirds.
Yes.
But I've seen that routine so many times. The routine really has not changed that much over the years. I know when that jet's going to come from the left side, at 600 feet, at close to the speed of sound, that right at the end of the show. So, but a lot of great memories. Was able to went to Korea. I almost got an incentive ride when I went to Korea, but I got pneumonia, got sick. But went to Korea.
What's an incentive ride? What is that? I'm not.
When we get a chance to ride in the jet in the F-15, so they have the 2-seaters. Yeah, so they give me. I think I got airman in the month or some bullshit. 1 month while we were in Korea, TDY, and temporary duty station.
Yeah, I was going to ask that
And I
because I
was,
don't know that.
yeah, and it was an exercise. We was over there for like 30 days. So I got my airman of the month, and usually you have to do something real extravagant to get the ride, but because we were there, they were going to let me get a ride for that because there was no other competition. It was just us. Our squadron was the only one that was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting excited. I'm about to get this ride, and man, I caught double pneumonia. And I remember I was in Kim gear, and I just passed out.
Damn.
You know, I never got my ride. But a lot of good memories from the Air Force. I don't know if you remember when, I believe it was '88. There was a situation down in Panama,
Oh yeah.
where the Panama Canal is,
Yeah.
and you remember that?
Yeah. 89.
I remember
88.
I remember that really. We launched our planes because we were at a tactical wing, so we were a fighter wing, and we went and loaded our planes up, man, launched them out. Then 13, 14 hours later, they come back. Stuff is missing, and I'm like, wait, what happened?
What you mean, like bombs are missing?
Then you find out on the news 3 weeks later. We had a supply air support, for the situation in Panama. So
Yeah.
I was blessed to also had a top secret clearance while I was in.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
I
So
was able.
how does that change your perception when you watch the news and you hear of conflicts? It being in the military, being in the Air Force, what are some of the things that you think about, and what goes through your mind when you hear about the things that are going on in Israel and other parts of the world?
The first thing that comes to mind is like we're probably finding out about it a lot later than when it actually happened. That information is usually delayed and filtered, and before it's given out to the public. It may be a little different now with technology because you got people over there with phones and they can, but if it was up to the government, you would find this out after we got a situation under control. This is what we're going to tell you what happened. This will tell you how it happened. And because they control the media, I know a lot of it gets watered down from what actually happened, and what really is going on. You probably would never know. Of course, it's now changed with social media and camera phones, but that's usually the first thing that comes to my mind. And sometimes I think of why we are involved in these different things. Even when right before I got out, just the whole Desert Storm thing, which was about oil.
Yeah.
How do we get our troops and people involved in this and getting people killed for this? Is it political? Is it what's really going on? When you're in the military, you just have to follow orders. You don't get much of a choice. I was lucky enough that my 4 years was coming into an end, and even then, I knew we were getting ready to send our planes in August. I think the war started in January. So we had already started to prep. But my 4 years was up in '91. So like that, I got lucky. I had a choice because if I had to re-enlist, I was going to have to do it, 6 months, 6, 7, 8 months beforehand. And they gave me a choice. You can get out or you can stay in. I chose to get out. So I got out in '91. But yeah, we went, our planes from our fighter wing went over there in like August, until before the war even started, So it's a lot of those things, I remember from the Air Force, and just, especially even having that clearance, just seeing how things were done and what they tell the public and what they don't tell the public.
I remember when Desert Storm broke out, and I was working in Columbus doing exhibit design. And we used to listen to the radio akin to the way they listened to the radio in London with the Spitfires over the Battle of Britain. We used to listen to dogfights on the radio, and it was really
Mhm.
strange because I grew up, really interested in World War II stuff. Now I'm
Mhm.
thinking, since you've been out, and it doesn't seem to me that the fighters and the planes change that much. I know the bombers don't change that much, but I mean, I'm thinking that air war has changed a lot. I don't. It seems to me that everything is, you know, piloted by joysticks. I remember watching something on 60 Minutes where they would actually launch sorties. They would launch drones and stuff from Las Vegas and bomb places. Are you aware of that type of happening? I mean, do they use planes and people like you to work on the planes that much? Are they doing a lot of air war fighting and stuff like that nowadays? I mean, has it changed, or do you think it's the same with?
It's probably changed in the fact that now you can have a drone that can go in there and do an attack. You don't have to worry about costs a lot less.
And the
Than
people too. Yeah.
yeah, to put a pilot in a plane and go up there and drop the bomb. Um, the air to air stuff has changed a lot. I think if you think about the countries out there that maybe have a decent enough air force to go against America, whether it's Russia or China or somebody like that. Then they're just patrolling the borders, and
Mhm.
probably very few dogfights now. You can launch a missile from so far. Um, I don't think it happens that much like Top Gun, anymore. If you watch the movies.
Did you see
But
the latest one? Did you see the latest one?
oh, of course,
The last one?
of
I
course. 'Cause
thought,
I watch it. I'm very screwed because I'm very scrutineous. I scrutinize the movies very good. I look for any mistake, anything unrealistic that
well,
So yeah.
I was scrutinizing it because, first of all, when those planes went into the trenches, like in the Star Wars movies, I don't
Mhm.
even think they would send planes into trenches. They would send drones into trenches. Do you find that true? They wouldn't do that. I thought that was a
I
bunch of
I
malarkey.
would I doubt that's Hollywood. Yeah, you wouldn't um in that situation where you got something in between two mountains, basically. Uh, yeah, I would think you probably would be able to send some drones in there to do something like that. But hey, you
So,
never know. Hollywood isn't far off sometimes.
No, they're not.
You'd be surprised.
yeah.
Hollywood gets it pretty close majority of the time. Sometimes it's just entertainment, but if you think about it, a lot of times it's close.
Well,
It's
the
close to
premise of
reality.
that film was Tom Cruise was taken out of his position because everything had been automated, and then he came back, and then to whatever,
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah,
knock
of course.
out to knock out that satellite, whatever.
In reality, the chances of that really happening.
So what we're not touching on is some extracurricular stuff that you did, some other things that you did in the Air Force. People you might have met that might have influenced you with some other things that came into view, some other interests.
Yeah. And while I was in the Air Force, met a kind of be a good friend of mine, big brother to me almost, was comedian Earthquake. Um,
Hmm.
uh, we met pretty much almost as soon as I got to the base. Because Quake he had already been in for 4 years. He was coming back stateside from overseas, and we got to Eglin pretty much right at the same time. By the time I got out of tech school and got to the base, Quake was just getting there from overseas. So, and we hit off and was good friends, right off the bat. He was from DC, me being from Cleveland. I think we had another friend that was from New York we used to hang with, and a guy from Denver named Griff. G was from New York. A couple other friends we had from Chicago, Frank Graham, Slick, and we all hung out together. Quake, he was because he was a sergeant. He was in a lot longer. He stayed off base. So that was a hangout for me. I was able to hang out with him off base because he actually had an apartment off base. And that's when he had first started doing comedy. You know, he first started doing comedy while he was in the Air Force. You know, and when Desert Storm happened, he was able to, you know, get out going also. And, you know, sitting there watching TV one time, we saw that Super Bowl was going to be in Atlanta, and about to get the Olympics. We was like, you know, let's move to Atlanta. And we literally decided to, when we got out of the Air Force, we, three of us, we moved, because me, Quake, and Griff, we all got out at the same time. That year in '91, we all got around in the summer of '91, and yeah, we moved, got a 3-bedroom apartment, and moved to Atlanta right out of the Air Force, and
So
just literally started our lives there in Atlanta.
So was the plan to? I mean, did you have aspirations of doing comedy, or how did the management part come in?
That came in later. You know, and then I was really trying to finish my education. One of the reasons I went to the Air Force was to, you know, go to college and finish my education. So now here I am getting out of the Air Force. Wasn't able to finish my education in the Air Force because the war broke out, and at the time they weren't allowing anybody to go to school, because it's like, remember, this was the first war since Vietnam.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you know, they weren't allowed. Like, no, we need you to, you know, work on these planes. We're not letting you go to school. So that was one of my motivations to get out anyway. So, you know, when we first moved to Atlanta, you know, I got a regular job. You know, I started off, my first job was security. I worked for a couple months, and then I got hired at Equifax. I started working for Equifax as a dispute analyst. I was there for a couple of years, and that's when, you know, Quake was grinding out. He still was, comedy was his thing. You know, he was hitting that chicken circuit. He was driving all over the South, you know, Alabama. You know, while we were going to work, that was his work. He was on the road. You know, he was, you know, all over the place, Florida, Carolinas, Tennessee, just driving, you know, just going to different clubs, doing stand-up. And he's actually just building himself up in that market, you know. And it wasn't until he got with a guy named Gary Abdul, and he opened up a comedy club in Atlanta, Uptown Comedy Corner, that was in Buckhead. And even at that time, once they opened that up, I believe I had just started working at the post office when they opened the club up. And then a lot of persuasion from Quake and other from G for me to leave the post office and come work at the club, you know, because basically, you know, they want people around and they trust him. So, so eventually I did leave the post. I couldn't stand the post office anyway, but I was ready to leave the post office. That is the most, I just couldn't stand that job. But anyway, I gladly left the post office and went and started working at the club. And that's how I got into the comedy business and comedy and entertainment period. You know, I worked during the day as we had developed a thing called corporate parties, where we would basically have, once you know, you fill out those things. Well, now you do it over your phone, but you fill out the little comments saying, you know, so you can win some free tickets, and basically we were just selling them 2-for-1 tickets, you know, to keep the club full, you know, so we could sell, you know,
during the weeknight. Yeah, definitely.
During the weeknight, because the club was open 6 days a week, so you know, we had to fill those seats up then. So that was a big part of, you know, keeping the club running, keeping people in the club. And from now, I just continue to learn more, you know, more about promotions, promoting the club. Also, I'm there at night. I was helping out at night, you know, whether it was, you know, running food, making sure, you know, everything was going smoothly, any problems with the customers, you know, just somebody there, you know, just to help out. So I met a lot of comedians, you know, seen a lot of guys that came through that club while they were coming up, you know. Think about it, one of the funny, like JB Smooth, Dave Chappelle, Steve Harvey, so all those guys came through the club, you know. And
what era was this? 1990s? Was this the 90s?
Yeah, mid early 90s, I would say, around 94, 95, 96.
Did you connect with Steve Harvey just because you guys were from Cleveland? Did you guys like connect
No,
over that?
I never had that conversation with Steve.
Okay.
I mean, I've met Steve, been in the same room with him, but nothing, that deep, where, so, but Steve was, man, he helped Quake out a lot in his career,
Mhm.
because Steve back then had a club in Dallas, and Quake would go back and forth there to perform, and Steve was showing him, this is what you do for your club, and showing him pointers, giving him pointers, and Quake come back, just give it to us, and that's kind of like how that worked.
So that was the golden era of black comedy with the Chitlin Circuit, with Kings of Comedy. That was you were in the thick of it. Then, what was that industry like with black comedians trying to break into the business? And I mean, were they concentrating more on the Chitlin Circuit, or were they trying to go mainstream? What was that like? And you were booking acts for that club specifically? I'm throwing in a
No,
lot of questions.
I didn't do any bookings back then.
Okay.
But for the first part of your question, for what was it like? Of course, the ultimate goal was to be on movies and television.
Right.
You have where you have Eddie Murphy and even Red Fox and these comedians that were on TV, and that's where you make your money. You're on TV, movies, broaden your demographics. So when you go out on the road, you can make more money on the road. But your money came from really being on the road. For comedians like Quake, that was up and coming, and like the Bruces and S'mores and all these type of those comics, they were grinding it out, and the goal was to get on TV, so
Mm-hmm.
Right.
things like Def Comedy Jam, Comic
View.
View gave a lot of comedians their first appearance on television,
Right.
because back then, of course, the gatekeepers, sat back and decided who got, whether it was a television show or if you were able to get on TV, the only networks I think that were doing really stand-up specials then was either later on, like HBO did their one night stands, and then Comedy Central,
Right.
they had their one night stands. So it took a lot for a comic, especially back then, to get to that level where you could be seen on those platforms. And of course, BET and Def Jam kind of changed that,
Right.
because that opened the door more. Now here's another avenue that we have that we can get on television as comics.
Was there friendly competition? Was there camaraderie, or were there like intense competitions with other acts to try to get to the next level?
I don't think it was really competition. It's not like there weren't many beefs, like in comedy. Like, you're a stand-up comic, you do your own original material, and you respect each other for that.
Mm-hmm.
It was never anything. I never saw anything, like any. Of course, there were disagreements, and but all that was behind closed doors. It was definitely not played out in front of everybody, like some of the things that have been happening recently. It definitely wasn't like that. I mean, yeah. Of course, there are some comics that don't get along, or have some disagreements along the way, but it's like nothing where somebody's cutthroat going on trying to ruin your career, or somebody's trying, because it's too hard, as it is, to make a living and get these jobs and keep you. Nobody's trying to,
Well,
trying to
I
ruin
just
somebody's career so that they can't eat. I just didn't see that.
I just keep hearing. First of all, there's a rumor at one point in time, uh, comedy or what have you, mainstream comedy can only entertain like one black superstar. There was some controversy about that, and then there was controversy of people stealing each other's stuff. Mark, who's the guy from Cleveland? Mark
Curry.
Mark Curry. There
Pretty.
was some controversy about somebody stealing his act and performing it before he got to do it. Stuff. Did you?
That happens, Is it done intentionally? I can't say or say it now, whether, it was done intentionally or not. But sometimes comics will touch on the same subject, and, sometimes jokes will seem familiar. And sometimes, a comic may hear a joke, thinks it's so good, well, I'm just going to take that, remix it, do it.
Right.
Back then, you could do it on this side of the country, and hopefully nobody will hear about it. But the professionals, if you're touring, if you're headlining comedy clubs, like the Improv or the Funny Bones, if you're doing that, you got to have your own original stuff, because you mess around won't get booked anymore.
Yeah.
And so there's a professionalism to it. You don't take somebody's joke, or I've seen where comics say, "Hey man, I like that. Can I use it? Or do you mind if I use it?" And whatever they decide, they decide. Whether it's something under the table, whatever. But usually, joke stealing, I mean, that's just a huge no-no. Because if you're doing somebody else's material, not your own material, then you're not going to get booked.
Have you seen Earthquake Bomb?
Be 100% honest with you, no. I've seen them have bad nights. Whether just didn't go as smoothly as another night. But Quake, in the way he tells his jokes and where the original thought process comes from, is kind of hard for him to bomb, because his punchlines come so quick, and usually has command of the audience, from the beginning, unless there's something that's completely out of the ordinary that's distracting him. I've never seen him bomb, like he actually get booed. Like I said, I'm probably a little more biased because I knew his material so well. I could tell even him having a bad night, the audience probably doesn't even know. I would say it that way. I would know because I know him and I know his material.
Yeah.
But for him to go out and say bomb, I've never seen it.
Okay, because that is probably the hardest thing in entertainment to do, to go up as a comedian and be relevant. And when you do bomb, to be able to adjust to it and have your ego adjust to it.
Yeah.
That's what separates the men from the boys, I guess.
Oh, it does. Yeah, because you get a heckler, or you get a real bad heckler or somebody in the crowd that's disrupting your show. Because I've seen that happen. Especially guys that have sets. Where they have their jokes lined up and they have this and sometimes the heckler, especially new and up and coming comics are still working on their sets, and a heckler will really throw you off. Throw you off your whole mind. You got to be either quick enough on your feet to shut that heckler down and get back into your set, or the heckler could ruin your night.
I remember a story with Donnell Rollins, because we ran in the same circles back in the day up in Brooklyn. And he was doing a show at this place called Pork Knockers. And there was a heckler, and Donnell was smart enough to videotape his own shows. So, the camera's on wide angle, and you see him on stage, you see a heckler, and then Donnell invites him up on stage and then proceeds to knock him the F out. All caught on camera.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
is there a comedy league? I mean, do fines come down, or how does that work?
Yeah, it was just legendary story on the circuit, and this is like Brooklyn, New York, and that was a pretty bold thing, but yeah, to your point, like he handled it and lived to tell.
So where did that take? So you're there, working in the club, and where did that take you? You're being exposed to things. Did you take on more responsibilities? And what were those, if you did? And where did
after the clubs closed? Just to keep a long story short, I basically became a road manager. So his career got to the point where, I was able to put on that hat as a road manager. And the road manager, wears a lot of different hats because he does most of the communication between whether it's the club or the promoter, the agent, the publicist. Back then, you coordinated all those things because, you had to make sure when it was radio, I had to make sure you get the radio on time, for to help promote the show, ground transportation, airline tickets, the whole nine.
Accommodations.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, after all that's done, you got to count the money and make sure that's right too.
Sounds like a military operation. Hit the beach.
It takes some finesse. It takes a little finesse, but that's how I really got to the point of traveling around and seeing different shows, different cities, different shows, different promoters, seeing other comedians. That's where it all started. Being his road manager, and then I moved out to LA. Probably early 2000s. Moved out to LA after leaving Atlanta, and it got thrown into the mix right away.
Yeah.
Quake had got a pilot deal, with ABC, just develop a sitcom. She was a sitcom, and man, I had absolutely no idea, what it took to be a part of a sitcom. What are we doing? I completely was a lot of on the job training.
Yeah.
There is no, so and so class or that you can take to even prepare you for something like this. So, but it was a great experience. Would never trade it for anything. To go through that process and to just even seeing the contracts and reading the contract, reading the language and everything that goes along with that, and then just the whole process of selecting cast members and locations and type of show you're going to shoot. Is it single cameras and multi cameras? Wow. It was a lot. Just getting fed and what's the term? Being fed with a fire hose.
Yeah.
The fire hose. It was like that. It was just like so much information. Being put, and you got so many people, pulling at you different ways, and this and that. And it was a lot, but I take it back to the whole reason for this podcast. What I learned at Shaker and what I learned in the Air Force, and what I learned at the comedy club, kind of helped me prepare for, learning this new step, which was, was Hollywood, LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thankful for that. It was a great experience again, that I was able to, do with Quake. And one of the things that I missed the most about it, even is the laugh, even through the bad times and all the trials and tribulations that went on while in LA, we were able to laugh, able to have a good time. Putting forth that effort, for the specials that he shot, while we were there, and, the movie roles and seeing the movie sets and going on and seeing how that goes, it's amazing. We see the end results of it and it's funny and stuff, but it's a lot of work. Man, I ain't never seen nothing. Being on a sitcom that's a lot of work.
What some of the challenges were different from the things that you dealt with at the nightclub? Where the negotiation? What were some of what was the skill set you think that you brought from Shaker that allowed you to deal with some of these challenges that you had to deal with in LA?
Broke up a little bit. I think you were asking about what just type of skill set to deal with those situations, like negotiation.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Coming from a diverse community, Shaker Heights, and being exposed to a lot of things in the school system and growing up in a diverse background and, going to the Air Force. What skill set did you use to navigate that LA scene and that's
being able to read a personality and to read a person from basically, you know, from who they were and what they were dealing and what that situation involved. Being able to, you know, articulate my point to, you know, on different levels of, you know, communication with, you know, with different people. You know, I may be in a room, you know, one day with exec from the studio to now I'm dealing with a club manager, on the road, someplace in, in Alabama, or, it was a wide variety of ups and downs of people that, had to deal with, and that was also in the Air Force too, because, you got people from all walks of life, in the military.
Exactly.
But from Shaker, I probably, because of, that being that racial, whatever it was back then, 60-40, and knowing the lifestyle of like being around, Jewish people, and understanding the religion and the holidays, and, growing up learning that, that's something that I had as an edge when I got to LA, where I meet, a lot of the Jewish execs, and could actually, understood, some of the, the holidays and some of the traditions, and, what was right and what was wrong, and what you could say and what you couldn't say. All that came from, that Shaker upbringing. So it's a lot, man. That you take with you, and sometimes until something like this, you don't look back and realize, oh wow, okay, this is why.
Of course, yeah, because it's natural.
It's natural for me to understand. Okay, yeah, and Shaker brought, a lot of that, helped me. Even with just like you say, even reading contracts and being able to, understand, what does this language mean? And then if I didn't understand it, where can I go to find out, what this means?
And then putting Earthquake at rest so he could concentrate on what he had to concentrate on. And
right. And that was always the whole plan, is for the talent to be able to be fully creative and not have to worry about paying his bills, paying his car note, doesn't have to worry about, does he have a plane ticket, is the hotel room right? Not be able to worry about things, but just be able to get to the plane, get to the venue, tell your jokes, collect your money, and come home as seamlessly as possible, without any type of distractions as possible, and the creativity, especially with a comic, when he's coming up with jokes and, coming up with material and things, you have to, you want to be in the right space for that, so you don't want to worry about, a divorce, or you don't want to worry about certain things that you have to go through to, because that's how you pay your bills, get on the stage and tell those jokes. So you always want to be your best, because you want everybody to keep coming back and keep buying tickets, so you always want to be the top, and you always want to have somebody that, okay, like, I know this is handled, I don't have to worry about that. Your team around you is real important, when you're, at that phase of your career and what you're going through.
Ground crew.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, where are we at? We're about hour 8 in. I can't believe that much time is flown
You
on.
did all that. You didn't think you had this much talking to do, did you, Dave? You said, I don't.
Well, I figured too. I talk enough about the Air Force and all the crazy stuff that happened while I was there, and this,
So what brought you back to Cleveland? How did you end back up in Cleveland?
Really gone, because if you think about it, I was gone for about 30 plus years, and none of that time did my family say, you need to come home, you need to do this, need to do that. But right around I guess it was around 2008. Was that when the housing market crashed?
Yeah, around that time.
Yeah. That affected comedy, especially what I was doing at that time, because I started my own company, Good Lab Productions, and I was, booking other comedians, putting together shows for different promoters, and that housing market crash kind of dropped all that. So
Mhm.
where I was able to provide for other comedians that were up and coming, go back to different venues, different clubs, it just wasn't there anymore. You know, people weren't going out and spending their money to see. If they decided they're going to spend their money to see a show, they wanted to see A-list headliners. You know,
Yeah.
and comedy took a real hit then. Um, so that was right around the point where I was getting those calls from my mother and my grandmother, like, "Hey, you know, can you really use some help?" I'm from a small family, you know. It's just me and my sister. Um, I was the only sibling that I had. My mother and my grandmother.
How old's your
Probably needed
sister?
help.
I don't remember your sister. How old is your sister?
Just 7 years behind me.
Okay.
She was born, I believe, in '72. Yeah, I never give that down because they made an announcement at Lomond over the PA that had my sister was born the night before. And I got teased like hell for that. Yeah. Yeah, but that kind of drove me to come back to Cleveland. I've been gone for a while, and I have a daughter. I have a daughter too. She was born in '85. So, and then I have two granddaughters, you know, two beautiful granddaughters and her. So I hadn't been around my child either, you know. I was gone, you know, between the Air Force, between Atlanta. And of course, yeah, I would see her and get a chance to, you know, spend time with time to time. But that absentee dad is nothing like the dad when you're there every day, you know, to help that child, whatever the child's going through. So it was time for me, you know, to come back, you know. So that's how I ended up back in Cleveland.
Okay. So do you still have a toe into the comedy industry?
Yeah, I got a little pinky toe in. I, you know, when I first got back, you know, I was still putting shows together for, you know, a few promoters. But I kind of slowly got into that as I got, you know, into being back in Cleveland was a whole culture shock within itself.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. So
In what way? In what way? Let's.
well, like I said, you know, long story short, without any details, from the time I was in Atlanta and LA, you know, it's just one party after another. You know, I was working, but it was also having a lot of fun. You know, especially when I was road manager. You know, I've been to every major city in the United States. You know, I went on the Tom Joyner cruise 3 times. So
Wow.
is when you live in that type of lifestyle, it's hard to come back. Okay, now I go to work every day. It's blue collar town.
Midwest,
City,
slow.
Midwest is have, you know, it's like a eighth of the things to do here, you know, and it's although it's home and it's home, it always will be home, you know. It's a big culture change, it's a big, you know, it's a big difference, especially from LA is its own world anyway. You know, it's La La Land. It is the city of Los Angeles.
So what are the opportunities?
Weird.
Well, what are the opportunities in Cleveland? Because I just came back, man. It seems like it's exploding with the Browns' new stadium and all the entertainment venues. I mean, compared to where I am now, Rochester, New York, there's tons of places to eat, places to go. I mean, there's shopping areas all over the place.
But it hasn't changed much for comedy. To be honest with you, it's comedy here is weird. I mean, it does well. I think, you know, and you know, I think we have two major comedy clubs at this point.
Hilarities.
Yeah,
I used to work
the
there.
Improv. Yeah, the Improv is not a funny bone. And then you have your concert dates. Outside of that, you know, I mean, there's a small community of up and coming comics, you know, in the area. And then again, you know, I'm spoiled from being in Atlanta and living in LA, where, you know, you have no problem, you know, there's comics everywhere, you know.
Right.
Here is it's not like that. You know, I looked at starting a room over on Waterloo
Where's that?
with Eric Hansen at the Tree Line.
Shout out to Tree Line, Eric Hansen.
Yeah. And we started a room there, and I was able to put together some good shows. But the local and it was good too to provide a place where local comics could come work out. You know, to try to give them much of a professional comedy club setting as I could. You know, at the tree line for up and coming comics. You know, get to come through. You know, but it's hard because Cleveland still, even to today, is still kind of segregated. So you know, if you're doing something on the tree line, you know,
it doesn't play on both sides.
In the Collingwood area, okay, now how am I going to get somebody from Shaker or Maple Heights or Garfield, you know, to come see that? You know, you're kind of confined to the area, which, you know, it was a small room, so that really wasn't a problem. But it makes it a little difficult because location is so key, you know, in this city. You know, because of, you know, people don't want to drive to the Heights or drive through the Heights. There's some great venues here, you know, but
it's landlocked, right? It's landlocked.
Exactly. You know, like, and I think a guy had brought Severance to old theaters over there in Severance, and it has like 4 or 5 different venues in. You know, one's when he took all the seats out of one of them, and it's just open with a stage. He has some that set up like a theater. He has some set up on a table. It's a great venue. You know, but it's like, how do you get people to drive all the way to Cleveland Heights, you know, to come right by the police station and
up Cedar, and set up those lights for 20
have
minutes,
drinks and get drunk and want to drive home.
You
know, it makes it a little difficult, you know, but that's, you know, that's just a comedy scene. And there's some rooms that have been doing I've seen some comics, you know, have some success with some rooms here. But, you know, it's hard. And the other thing is, too, it's hard to bring in names because the Funny Bone and Hilarities have them locked down. So you can't come here and perform at another club and still think you're going to get your money at the Funny Bone. Well, of course, the Funny Bone has how many clubs across the country? You're not going to risk yourself as a comedian. You're not going to risk that relationship just to come perform at the Tree Line, you know what I'm saying, for not even the same amount of money.
Right.
So it's hard to get the big names to come to, you know, to your shows, unless you're doing a theater or, you know, a big event, you know, whether it's a theater or like a type venue.
How could you combine that idea with developing talent, you know, instead of trying to house it, maybe developing it? Because you were talking about creating venues where acts could warm up or what have you. Maybe it's a conundrum, but it seems like there's a solution within that. You know, there's something. There must be some areas around the country that have the same problem. Like Milwaukee probably has something akin to that. You know, there's probably bits and pieces of solutions that you could put together and then create a blueprint.
Yeah. I think the first, like in an area like Cleveland, you know, is really just the location.
Yeah,
that's the first thing, you know. So you want to be someplace where people can come from all over the city, are willing, you know, to come to the venue and, you know, enjoy the shows.
Well, have you ever thought about developing talent and sending it out other places? I mean, is that a whole different ball game that's not within your?
Well, that's more of a management role where you're managing somebody's career and you know, put them out there. That's another hat with a lot of responsibilities to it, and there's not much reward to it. If you have an up and coming comic, you know, maybe it'll pay off in later unless you got some kind of tied some kind of contract. You know, if he blows up in the next 10 years,
you're tied in. Yeah,
you know, it's not. So to me, I'm more or less like, you know, I enjoy it and I want to do it, but, you know, I still want to be able to put something in my pocket at the end of the night. You know, I want to be able to, you know,
you're worth your while,
and also in to keep it going. You know, it's got to be worthwhile. I mean, it's got to make sense. But I give advice to comics all the time. You know, I have no problem with that. You know, pointed here, pointed there, this, that. You know, it's not knowledge if you can't pass it on. So
How is the, with this political correctness and this division within our country, how have you seen it change a lot, and is it become more difficult, or how do you see the profession? Has it changed because of that?
What's definitely more different for this online stuff. If you're getting online and saying something, and of course, the whole world's going to hear it.
Hmm.
Whether or not if you're on stage at open mic or you're on stage performing, in a comedy club, a lot less chance for that to happen. You can touch on some of that stuff in in your set.
Hmm.
But as anything else, comics have to they figure a way around it. You know, um,
Well, like Chappelle, he got into hot water with the LGBTQ community of things that he was saying. Do you think he's typical or atypical? I was thinking maybe he's able to get away with that more than other comedians. He can kind of stay. I mean, just think about the '80s, like Sam Kinison, and even
mhm.
Eddie Murphy's embarrassed about what he used to say back then. Uh,
It's just a different time. Is
Yeah.
you back then. You could say things. You could you know do bro, even if it was a gay joke. You know,
yeah.
to to a certain extent.
Hmm.
Or if it was like if you made jokes about the Jewish community. You
Hmm.
had to be very careful how you did that and what you say, how you say, so it doesn't get taken out of context. And I think even now, I mean, just like everybody in profession, we know they're comedians and they're jokes, and they're going to say these things are risque and very walk a very thin line, and that's just part of it. To take something terrible and make it funny. You
Well,
know,
what I hear now is if you're going to do a gay joke, you better be gay. If you're going to do a black joke, you better be black. If you're going to do it, so forth and
Except
so
if you're
on.
Gary Owen.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's getting like that because of social media.
yeah,
Because social media and it's getting like that. Where you got to be real careful. Like some of the stuff that Gary Owen has said, all is funny as hell. You know, you may have to tread lightly. Now, I don't, but he's a smart comic.
yeah.
He's a smart comic. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, it's been said by me. But now the game has changed. You know,
That's
with,
what I was thinking.
with
Yeah, you got
the,
to punch. You got to punch up. You can't punch down for sure.
yeah,
You can't put people down for
yeah.
sure.
And how you structure your joke can really determine that. You
Hey,
know,
speaking of that, what did you think when Chris Rock and Will Smith got into it? Did you think that was real when it happened, or did you think that was staged? Shot
my
heard around the
first my,
world.
my first reaction, I thought it was staged. You
Hmm.
know, but then as you're looking at, of course, as it developed over people, I was like, okay, well, damn, this really did happen. You know,
Yeah,
something pushed a button in Will that he just lost it. You know,
yeah.
um, whatever that was. I'm not here to say whatever it was or what it was or what it wasn't, but again, that's something that I never saw in my years. I've seen people run up on the stage. Every now you get somebody may try to run up on the stage.
Like
But
Chappelle had to handle
yeah,
somebody not too
yeah.
long ago.
Every now and you get that. I saw very little of that. You know, and then again, nobody. Of course, I'm working with Quake. Nobody's run up on the stage on Quake, so um, didn't have that problem. I saw maybe less than a handful of times. But
Hmm.
every now and then you see something like that. But it's that thing, Will and Rock. I was like, it shocked me, you know, to see, especially in that venue and that during that event,
Yeah, yeah. What
to
was
see
so
something
sad
like
about
that.
that? I saw him on the come up, and again, he's resurrecting his career. And I had just read his biography about he had this complex about being a coward and not standing up to his father that was beating his mother when he was growing
Mhm,
up. And he felt that he should have protected her more. And when
mhm.
that happened, and I witnessed that, that seemed like a continuation of the book. I could almost see that coming. So, but Yeah, it's crazy.
Will is from West Philly, and so for those who may fuck around, they'll find out. And that's also a big misconception about Will Smith, that he's all Mr. Jovial, nice, but there is a West Philly side to Will Smith, and if you push that button, you will find out.
Yeah. So I guess he pushed that button at the wrong time and he just
I just
brought
think
me up there.
I just think the way it was all handled in the aftermath was, kind of little misguided or just messed up because, it's double standards and who has latitude to do stuff like that,
Yeah.
Would Andy Kaufman, the late Andy Kaufman, would he run up on stage on Sam Kinison? Maybe, but
Maybe.
but the repercussions would be different.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's run up on stage on Andrew Dice Clay or anything like that. So
Yeah.
But Arsenio gave him some. You remember when he made him cry and telling him he was. I forgot. That was a long time ago, but there was a whole thing about that too. Do you know Arsenio? Have you run in up on any of Arsenio comics out in LA?
I never met Arsenio. No, that's one person I never met. But
what was the
work a little bit with Kim Whitley.
Yes, Shaker's Own. We'd love to get her on the show.
Yes. Who do you want on the show, Kim Whitley? How do you help us get her on? Yes, I can. Is that what you're going to say, Dave? Is that what you're going to say?
I have to dust off the book and see. I haven't talked to Kim in a while. Last time I saw her, she was here. She was here a couple years ago for a show.
Mark Williams is in touch with her. I think he's class of '83. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever watch that cartoon? First of all, the only place that hasn't changed the medium in comedy that gets away with anything they want to are cartoons, if you've ever noticed. And my favorite cartoon with Kim Whitley in it, Black Dynamite. You ever watch that?
Oh,
have you seen the Jackson 5 one?
Yeah. Yep.
That is the funniest. I got to get that network or that streaming service back because that was some funny ass shit.
Yeah.
You know what would do good in Cleveland,
What's
Dave?
that?
You could put a room together and test it out.
What's
Cannabis and comedy. Have a cannabis comedy festival.
Because everything's funny then.
Right. I've seen that. I've seen that. I guess there's in Lakewood. I saw a flyer last year. It'll pop up around 420. You'll see a lot of cannabis and comedy shows, especially around 420. You see a lot of cannabis comedy shows.
Yeah. Now Ohio's full on recreational. It should be something that could be branded as such.
Yeah. Jump on that. Club 420.
Club 420.
Yeah. And you know what? You can tie it in with the local dispensaries and stuff like that, and they could set up shop at the comedy spot. Everybody could be neutral. Yeah. So
get Mark Mackey, put food on right next door to it. So, you're feeding everybody, all senses.
So you get somebody with a liquor license. You get somebody with a liquor license too, yeah.
Treelawn. Do comedy and cannabis at Treelawn.
Oh, that was coming especially because it's tree with tree lines. There's trees.
Yeah, there you go.
That was all. It was all part of comedy on the tree line while you under the trees smoking trees.
Yeah.
It was all coming.
Yeah.
Can you do a pop up? Pop ups are the thing now. Can you do a pop up comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and we'll host and we'll do the merch. Come on, man. Let's band together like Voltron. We can do this.
Oh, let's do it. It can definitely be done.
Yeah. I mean, especially I think after September 7th, there's some major clarification or ruling with the recreational there in Ohio, but it's wide open.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely a conversation.
Yeah,
have
take all these little pieces of these trends that are happening and tie them together and create
yeah,
something out of it. We should
yeah,
talk, definitely, definitely
Yeah, let's talk
talk.
about it. I'm definitely with it. You know, that's like I definitely want to get another room started back, and that'd be great, man. Like I said, I would love to have something where comedians can come through and and get a chance to work their stuff out on stage in front of a real good crowd. And I mean, because there's comedians that are in Columbus, and there's comedians in
yeah,
Pittsburgh and Detroit, Toledo, all around that aren't that far. Will come up here just to
yeah,
get a chance to work a different room.
yeah.
So
Here's an
And
idea, like those Halloween stores, like get those abandoned places and rent those out and advertise. You know how to do that. Bring people up from Pittsburgh or what have you, and then do a pop up there, and then appear somewhere else some other time of the month. Sorry to
yeah,
cut you.
there's a guy, there's Comedy Secret Society that's been toying with that idea too, and they pop up at different, like they do a show at 11 o'clock at night in somebody's apartment somewhere, or they'll go to a local bar somewhere each week, and they just pop up and just do a show. And I had to figure out how he was doing it because he was bringing in some decent names, some guys with some credits.
Wow.
I was wondering how he was doing that. And he said, yeah, he said, I'm in the red, but it's especially comedy here in Cleveland, you gotta be able to ride it out. People will catch
Mhm.
on to it. But if you can weather the storm, uh, definitely can make something
People,
work. Because
yeah,
especially if
people
it's a
love
good
new.
quality show.
Yeah, people love new and novel. Like the Taco
Mhm.
Fest. What happened to the rib burn off in Cleveland? Now you got Taco Fest. You
Hmm.
know,
They don't
oh
have a
yeah,
red burn off anymore.
they used to
I
be
didn't see it.
amazing.
It's supposed to be Labor Day weekend. No,
That was,
all I saw were tacos. Yeah,
yeah, man. The Rib Fest used to be a big thing. That was a
Mhm.
national event. It's all
and
about the food
Shooters.
trucks now.
Yeah, Shooters was dead, man. We went over there to get something to eat to watch the part of the Jets go over yesterday.
Mhm.
There's there's all kinds of stuff. Mhm.
And Cleveland is unique, man. There's a lot of different things going on here. Once you just gotta get tapped into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh, once you tap into it, uh, follow them. There's a lot of different things going on. There's some great venues here, like we mentioned before, man. I went to some art venue somewhere on the west side where I'd never been before in my life. And it took this old factory and basically turn it into, pop up. You can pop up, have a store, if you wanted to sell some merch or do things like that. You would just go
yeah.
to this venue.
Was it the
And
power station or something on the Shoreway?
Yeah,
Was it?
that's
Yeah,
it's is it on the west side?
like
well.
I
There's
want to
a
say,
power station in the flats where
Yeah. This isn't in the flats. This is like West 48th or something kind of
oh, okay.
different. If I
I think
find
it
it,
was.
I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah, I think it was like
But
the
I've heard about
show.
the power station though.
Yeah,
That's over to where the improv is at.
yeah.
Or the Funny Bone, I should say.
But also too, Van Aken District. They do live music on a certain night. Yo, you could approach them. I mean, we got the contact information. You could approach them
Mhm.
about a comedy night. You'd have to be, squeaky clean, depending on what time you come on. But there's a venue right there. Comic of the week.
Mhm.
Tie it into Paloma or the pizza shop there, or maybe with Mitchell's or something like that.
man, there's all kinds of. There's always a stage centered in those locations. We went to Legacy Village, Beechwood.
Mhm.
There's always a venue that's open air, and there's always a list, excuse me, of entertainment that's coming there. There's also a place over by Chagrin that's like the district
The
that has
Pine
some
Crest.
really. Oh my,
Time
yeah, we
Crest.
stayed in a hotel
Yeah,
over there. Man, that's really nice. High
yeah,
end, boy. Looking for some
Yeah, I
swimming
saw that.
trunks.
I saw. I never knew there was a hotel there until like about a couple of weeks ago. Well, actually, about a
Man,
month or so ago, I was like, "Damn, there's a hotel right here."
yeah.
yeah,
Right near the Whole Foods.
Yeah, man,
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's great. I was looking for some swimming trunks, and I went to the REI, and
Yeah.
I was looking through. I'm like, it's Labor Day weekend. It's got to be something cheap. And I asked the guy, just jokingly, I said, "Do you have any swim trunks for less than $75?" He goes, "Nope." And he looked. I thought he was being a smartass. He looked, nothing there. So
Marshalls. What
Wow,
do
yeah,
you?
that's where I ended up. That's where I ended up over where the Whole Foods used to be over on Chagrin across 271.
Yeah.
Over there, ended up getting
Marshall's, TJ Maxx or something like that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Got a Browns hat too for $10. So
There you go.
there
But
you go.
yeah, but yeah. I mean, if you're interested in VAD, let me know. I'll put you in touch with that person.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
most definitely.
Meredith LaPerch is her name.
Yeah, it's just
So
something.
Okay,
yeah.
most definitely, most definitely.
All right, we're at the bewitching hour. We've asked you.
Oh,
Wait,
one
you
last
got another
thing.
question?
Another idea comes up. So you got all these rising comics in Cleveland, right? Do
Hmm.
do like do like hip hop. Have a MC battle and have audience vote on it.
Like a almost like a contest or like a
Who's the funniest? Yeah. It's like a
Mhm.
yeah. But
That's something I haven't seen that in Cleveland in a while since I've been back.
so
Uh,
you're talking to the Asperial son of Al Heyman Productions here. Okay.
I didn't know.
Yes. So
Right?
yeah, we should the Asperial son of Al
Okay,
Heyman Productions. Okay.
okay,
So we should talk in the time to come.
no doubt. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Asperial.
definitely.
That's a
Yeah,
made up word. I'm the imaginary son of Al Heyman Productions.
I hear you, man. Okay, yeah, most definitely, man. Gotta catch up with you then, Gabe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Eric, did you stop writing? Are you still writing?
I'm writing poetry now. I wanted to go into comedy, but then nothing was funny anymore. I just started getting angry. So I write poetry to calm myself down now.
Really?
But you know what
So
you should
yeah.
do? You should write jokes and see what comics would want to pick them up and buy your jokes. So if you still have the funny bone, no pun intended, you need to write some jokes and see who would want to pick them up and pay you for it. That's
Well, I
still
have like beats. Like I have a whole drawer
yes,
full of them. I will.
yes, yeah.
Dave and I spoke when he first came to Cleveland. I just, but I got some stuff.
Yeah,
I got
dude,
some
you should
stuff.
sell it. I mean, Phyllis Diller. There's a famous picture of Phyllis Diller somewhere online. She had like one of those old school librarian Dewey Decimal System drawers,
That's
but
what
they
I
were
started
all
doing.
categorized by jokes,
Yeah, that's what I
different
started doing
types of
during the
jokes.
pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So, yeah, you might have seen that picture. I think we might have shared it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man, you might have some bangers there that you can get paid off. So,
The funny thing was in Rochester, they had this old schoolhouse, and someone rented a room during the week, and they'd have people sit around and work on people's jokes and help them. Oh, I got this idea and this and that. And I'm like, I'm not giving you my damn jokes. And I stopped
no,
going.
no,
I'm like, I'm not giving
you
you
get a
shit.
check.
This is my shit, not your shit.
You know. All right, David Embry. It's been a
Yes,
pleasure.
sir. We got
Uh,
to do this again, man.
yes, and
Do it
we'll
again.
definitely follow up on off-camera conversations in the days to come about how
Most
you
definitely.
can be the Don King of the comedy scene in Cleveland without
Yes,
stomping
sir.
on nobody.
Exactly. You gotta be professional. You gotta keep it
Yes,
professional at all times.
that's right. Or they
Too
get the
old to be fighting,
switch.
so you gotta keep it
Yeah.
professional at all times.
And that's true. But sometimes, somebody needs to get punched in the face. And, and that's a reset. A reset is good. So anyway, we're about funny, not about war yet. Anyway, we'd like to thank you for coming on. It's been a great conversation. Again, it's one of these conversations, the time flies and doesn't seem like
Right.
forever. Um, Next week, we have class of 85. We have Jimmy Jam Capoletti, noted modern dancer turned dog walker, has a great, thriving dog walker business in New York. But most importantly, this dude has become a great photographer. So anybody listening, come in next week, listen to Jimmy Jam. Funny story about Jimmy Jam Capoletti. His dad was the coach of Cleveland Heights basketball team. Can you imagine what that must have felt like when your dad was coaching your rival high school team? But not to finish it off.
Check out the merch.
Check out the merch. We got merch. Shout out to that person who bought over $180 worth of Shaker merch. Whoever you are in Bellingham, Washington, we thank you sincerely from the bottom of our heart. Shout out to Chris Valerian, another person supporting, showing love. David, back to you. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Also, I'm a little behind. I never had double pneumonia, but I had single pneumonia last week. So we will be issuing out new merch, new things. David, check out our merch, man. You will laugh. There are different things that we've created that you'll be able to relate to, like the garbage truck, and there's more stuff to come. More mythology, Shaker mythology, stuff for the holidays, stuff for the kids. But now, a word from our sponsor.
I have to show you my Knockbox. It's a system that comes with 15 labeled folders in 66 categories that organizes every single part of your life in case of an emergency or death. And it's not just the labeled folders. It also comes with detailed instructions so you know exactly what information you need to put in there and what your next of kin needs to do with it. Click on through to the website so you can check out the deals this holiday season.
Death is real.
There we go.
And who did the animation for that? You did that, Eric?
Yeah, I did it. Designed the stuff and everything. So, that's what I do. That's what I do.
I thought that was your work. Good stuff, man.
Well, have a good, safe Labor Day. Stay hydrated.
Stick around, Dave, as we sign out.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you for having me.
The experiences may vary. Tune in next week. Like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Please like and subscribe. Thanks for taking us over 101. Thank you.
104 right now.
104? Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All right. We're out.
Right. Peace.